After a long while, South Africans are enjoying life without the dreaded load shedding. Eskom has promised that the lights will remain constant until at least Friday. It doesn't require an energy expert to explain that it's been a rocky year for Electricity Minister Newzroom and the leadership of Eskom as they battle to keep the lights on. Well, for more on this conversation, we're joined by Head of Energy Secretariat of the South African National Energy Development Institute, Professor Sampson Mamphweli. Prof, good to speak to you during this holiday season and appreciate you making the time. So a lot has gone on with Eskom in the last 12 months and longer. So let's talk about the progress that SCOPA has made in its 6-month-long probe into allegations of corruption raised by former Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter. And when can we expect the committee to conclude its preliminary inquiry?
Good evening to you and the viewers. Yes, it's been quite an interesting year for Eskom with some improvements here and there. If you look back at the May when the energy availability factor for the coal fleet was at its all-time low at about 45-46%. So now coming back to the question that you have asked, as part of the President's Energy Action Plan, there is a work stream that is dealing with corruption, maladministration, and many other things that are associated with the day running of Eskom. And that particular work stream has been doing quite a lot of work, even though the Minister of Electricity has not been touching on the work that they have been doing. There's quite a lot of work that involves various organs of state, including the Hawks and others, that are investigating some of the issues that have been raised by Andre de Ruyter before he left Eskom and even after he had left Eskom. So there has been some progress in terms of the work that they have been doing. That's why some of those things have basically stopped, because as soon as the probes started, some of the people who were involved in those kind of things stopped doing them. In terms of when the committee will conclude its work, that's a difficult question to answer. I'm sure the people who are in the particular committee will have that particular answer, but I don't think they are at liberty to even disclose because they are working under confidentiality. So it's for us to basically wait and see as to when they will release the final report and what will happen to the people who have been implicated or fingered. However, there have been some arrests, as we know, that have been made in the past, and that there are active investigations that are going forward, taking place at the moment.
So I suppose that there is a measure of truth in those allegations made by Andre de Ruyter based on two issues. One is the arrests that you speak of that have been made, and the fact that some of the shenanigans, again, that you mentioned that were going on, have also stopped.
Yes, so some of the shenanigans have already stopped. And these are very syndicates that vary in terms of their operations and their targets at the various Eskom power stations. You've got targets, others targeting the coal sector, the transportation sector, others targeting the sabotage within the system. Andre de Ruyter mentioned some senior politicians' involvement in other aspects of running Eskom as well. Those are all under investigations. For those where the arrests have been made, people know the names of the people involved. Where the investigations are taking place, we don't necessarily know the names of the people involved. We will only know at the conclusion of the investigations. We must also be mindful of the fact that when Andre de Ruyter made some of these allegations, he was at the exit point. And at that particular point in time, people can make both correct and incorrect allegations.
But he also indicated that he'd already mentioned to Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan these issues long before his resignation was ever mooted.
That is correct. That's why I'm saying he may have made either the wrong allegations or the correct allegations. It boils down to the thorough investigations, because if you look at some of the statements that Andre de Ruyter made at face value, I read even in his book, for instance, where he was measuring corruption, for instance, based on the number on the number of expensive cars that he was seeing coming into Megawatt Park and going out of Megawatt Park, in the morning and in the afternoon, and he associated something like that with corruption. And if you look at something like that at face value, it doesn't tell you a lot. What needs to happen is for the investigator to go deep down and actually establish whether those cars were the activities or not. So that's why I'm saying we need to be mindful and cautious when it comes to the issues of this nature, and give space to the state organs that are investigating this kind of issues, so that they can come up with a credible evidence and also give us conclusive kind of statements on what exactly happened in the past. It's one thing to tell a minister about something that is happening. It's another to have concrete evidence against the people that the person may have been talking about. Because in the end, you remember that in the end, it's your word against the people who have been implicated. If there is no evidence that has been put before the particular minister, that the minister can then take forward in terms of further investigations.
But Professor, you raise the issue of evidence, and Andre de Ruyter was taken to task for unilaterally ordering an investigation of sorts into the very issues. And the argument was that he wasn't authorized to do that. But it's not his job to find evidence, is it? Surely, as a man in charge, or the man at the head of the organization, if he's got sufficient information, which may not always be hard evidence, then it's proper to put it to the relevant authority, or higher authority in this instance, to then carry out the necessary investigations.
So I'm glad that you raised this issue of Eskom operates under the various acts of law. There are things that Eskom can do. There are things that Eskom cannot do by themselves, that they need to approach the relevant authority. So the investigation, yes, he did instituted an investigation, set up an investigation unit within Eskom and all that. That all, in terms of the law, was not necessarily legal. That's why he suspected that there could have been, all those other things. He should have approached the relevant state organs, not even the minister, the relevant state organs, and put the various allegations before them and ask them to institute investigations. He was at liberty to approach even the president and ask for him to institute an investigation through the SIU. So those were some of the legal avenues that he had before him. When you start setting up sort of illegal kind of investigations, people start to wonder whether you are going for particular people, or whether you have concrete evidence before you that you want to test. Because when you've got concrete evidence before you that you want to test, you will then use the existing and legally correct channels and organs of state. In this particular case, in my view, Andre should have approached the president and asked for an SIU proclamation. And to do that, you need to put evidence before the president and say, this is what I've got, and then the president will then sign the proclamation, and then an investigation will unfold. However, I'm not saying that there might have not been those kind of acts of corruption and all that. We've seen arrests. Those things happened. Some of them happened. Some of them we don't know. There are still investigations taking place.
So a couple of milestones for 2023 that I'd like us to focus on. Andre de Ruyter, I think his resignation was tendered at the end of March 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Hossein Ramaphosa was appointed, I think, right about the 6th of March. So almost a slight overlap. So let's talk about the success of Hossein Ramaphosa as electricity minister. This is a new position that wasn't there before, but according to the president, he saw the need to add impetus to dealing with issues of load shedding, and subsequently appointed an electricity minister. We've also seen the appointment now of a substantive chief executive officer who will take over, fill that vacuum left by Andre de Ruyter, I think effective March next year.
Yes, so if we have to just quickly go back to the appointment from the electricity minister, that was the time when Eskom was at its lowest in terms of the energy availability factor. And when the electricity minister came on board, the president wanted him to coordinate the implementation of the energy action plan, which basically means that he was there to work with Eskom, municipalities and various stakeholders, business unions and everybody else to try and implement the energy action plan. And top of the agenda in the energy action plan was basically to fix the Eskom fleet so that it can operate at an acceptable energy availability factor, which is above 70%, so that we don't have load shedding. If you look at the impact of the electricity minister, from the time when he came, the energy availability factor was hovering around 40-45%. And as things stand, the energy availability factor is hovering between 59 and 60%. So there is an improvement from the time that he came in to the current time. And the government has then made available money to Eskom so that they can service the debt, and then they can use their balance sheet to fix the fleet. That has been effective to a certain extent, not to a greater extent, because the Eskom balance sheet does not have enough money to service the fleet. However, Eskom ramped up maintenance based on that particular provision. And you will recall that they've been taking down between 5,000 and 8,000 megawatts for maintenance. And that has yielded results because at the time the electricity minister came into the picture, the breakdowns were sitting at about 18,000, sometimes getting to 20. Downs are hovering between 14,000 and 14,800 megawatts, and they've been able to keep the breakdowns at about at that kind of level for quite a long time. So if things continue the way they are, and then that will be a positive kind of outlook going forward, because all they need is to lower the breakdowns to about 5,000, 6,000 megawatts consistently, because the problem has been that they've not been consistent in terms of dealing with the breakdowns. So there has been quite a lot of improvements. The reason why we had more days of load shedding, partly because Eskom ramped up maintenance so that we have what refers to as a short-term pain and long-term gain. And we've started seeing that kind of long-term gain in the fact that the breakdowns have come down, and they've been consistently sitting at about 14,000 and 14,800 megawatts. So there is a positive outlook on that. The other aspect on the implementation of the Energy Action Plan is the bringing in of the small-scale embedded generation, where government made an announcement of the rebate program for small-scale embedded generation, which is 15% or 25,000 rands. We have seen an increase in the uptake of small-scale embedded generation because of that particular reason. Eskom has done the numbers, and before the Christmas break, we were sitting at about 4 gigawatts, which is 4,000 megawatts that has come online in terms of small-scale embedded generation. That is helping quite a lot. I am aware of some of the programs that the Minister of Electricity will be bringing on board, working very closely with the Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy and the Minister of Public Enterprises into the new year when it comes to demand response and demand-side management. So if those kind of plans come into the picture now, as part of the President's Energy Action Plan, which deals with the short-term measures, we could see a reprieve or lower intensity of load shedding going into 2024. And if the new generation capacity that the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy is busy procuring, which includes the battery energy storage facilities and the renewable energy side of things, come on board within the next 15 to 18 months, then we will see very low stages of load shedding, or maybe even the disappearance of load shedding. I am aware that the Minister has been revising the integrated resource plan. We had anticipated that it was going to be released before Christmas. We are now anticipating that it will be released for public comment immediately after the festive seasons, which is somewhere mid-January for public comment. That is also responding to the current situation in terms of the electricity situation. And some of us expect that particular IRP will have a provision for extension of life of some of the coal fleet that can give us longevity with proper maintenance being done on it. And it will also bring in new generation capacity in terms of renewables, gas, as well as it will also touch on the hydrogen side of things.
Professor, it's always good speaking to you. Appreciate your time. Professor Sampson Mamphweli, Head of Energy Secretariat to the South African National Energy Development Institute.